Have you ever wondered why some people meet their career goals and others just struggle? What if I told you it was all about working backwards? That's right. In today's lesson, I'm going to show you how reverse engineering your career can fast track your success. Instead of guessing your way to the top, reverse engineering can give you a clear and strategic plan. So stick around to learn how to turn your dream job into reality. Reverse engineering is a strategy where you start with the end goal and work backwards to figure out the milestones, goals, and steps that you need to hit in order to reach that end goal. Why does reverse engineering work? Because you're starting with the end goal in mind and you need to build the steps, picture the steps that you need to have in place in order to reach that end goal. Sometimes it can be overwhelming to see that end goal, and sometimes you necessarily can't understand where to even start. So that's why we start at the end goal and work our way back to the start to make sure that we've got all the necessary steps in place and milestones in place to hit to make sure that we reach our goal. And let me just dive into why reverse engineering works. I mean, it puts aside all the distractions, all the noise, all the overwhelming moments that happens when you're trying to achieve something. And reverse engineering it and having these milestones in place makes sure that you don't procrastinate and you understand what you actually need to get to that goal. Sometimes it's promotion, sometimes it's a new qualification, sometimes it's just something within, sometimes it's confidence within yourself to actually want to go for the goal. Sometimes it's just not knowing the path. So, there's many instances where I get a call. I'm always one to give out advice, and it's not necessarily the person doesn't know what to do. They just don't have a path of how to get there. They've not looked at somebody and said, right, how have they managed to get there, and reversed engineered where they need to be. It's very easy to look at somebody's CV. Say you're in, I don't know, the warehouse industry, and you're just starting out as a warehouse worker, and you want to be, the warehouse director. Where do you start? Essentially, go to LinkedIn, go to their CVs, reverse engineer it. Well, they're here now, but they started here at sports director as a worker. Figure out what somebody's done. It's easier to look at role models, look at people who are in the industry, look at their experience and reverse engineer it. And that's why we're talking about it today. And reverse engineering works well in any idea or any project that you've got to help you understand where you're at and where you need to be. I've jotted down some key points that I personally think that you need to look at when you're looking at reverse engineering to reach your project or goal or whatever it may be. And the first one is defining your goal. Understand exactly what you want to do, exactly what you want to be. Good example is, you get a lot of college kids that go to university and nobody's told them in college and high school that they need to study certain criteria or have certain criteria or study certain lessons to be able to then study something at university. And take this concept towards looking at your career. Don't be ignorant to what you don't know. Try and find out as much as you need to regarding where you want to be, the person you want to be, how you want to be, and this goes off personal preferences, and it goes off what you admire and who you actually want to be. Break down the path to get there. So this is essentially what we're doing. We're reverse engineering what we need to do. Let's take a university degree. What do we need to do? We need to go to, elementary school. We need to go to middle school if that's what we do in America or the UK. Over here, we do high school, and then we go to college, and then we go to university. So we know the steps, and there's no point trying to become a doctor if you didn't know that you needed to work hard and get so many GCSEs. If you're now, let's say, over the age to even want to even be motivated to do something like that. So I think it's very important to understand your journey, and you might not be able to achieve it right now. You might think, right, well, I need a university degree, but do you need a university degree? Have you looked at enough profiles to understand that you need a university degree, or is that only thing that you see in front of you right now? And that, kind of fits with everything that we do in life. You've got to look at it and think, is this the only path? And I think once you break down your journey, you really understand that this isn't the only path. And the majority of the time, there isn't only one path. There's many paths. But because the process and the goal is overwhelming, you're only seeing one path. And I think that's why it's essential to have, this journey reverse engineer where you want to be, because you can see, actually, I don't necessarily need to be barking up this tree when I can take this route and still get to where I want to be. Identify obstacles. Identifying obstacles before you even get there is like genius. I love identifying obstacles before I've even started my journey, because I know they're coming. I get less anxiety. It's easier to deal with. I've already thought about solutions, and you know when they're going to come. If you're at college right now and you're thinking, wow, I need to get my maths, my English done before I can even get to university. At least you've got that to overcome. You can gear yourself up. You can motivate yourself to do it. You can start reading books quite early to make sure that you can get through it. There's so many things that you can do when you plan and you prepare, and that's why reverse engineering is something that I'm a big advocate for, and you see a lot of within many industries: construction industry, engineering industry, the art industry. If they want to get something creative out of themselves, they have to build the mechanical blocks in place so they can be creative around that. But it's all about reverse engineering when you want to be most creative and when you don't want to be most creative. And like I said, this fits with every industry, every sector. It's about having the fundamental mindset to understand what's reverse engineering and how can I apply that to multifacets to be able to benefit from that. Once you can do that, you can then go into a business and understand that business immediately, because you have a function and process and strategy within you that you apply to most things. And this is very good for anything in your career. I've been to many interviews where just because I have a personal philosophy and structure within me, they admire that. And that's what I'm passing on in this video here. And the final stop is learn to monitor. This is a big fact, and big tip. Let's put it that way. Learning to monitor is key to doing everything. Look, if you don't monitor, you don't actually understand what you're doing. And if you don't understand what you're doing, you don't understand if it's working. And then you start losing your mind, quite frankly. So monitor. And I don't mean fancy softwares. I don't care if you do a tally chart. I don't care if you do an Excel sheet. I don't care if you write it on your wall, but monitor what you're doing. Whether that your goal is, I want to get up, for the next 7 days at 7 a.m., monitor it. And then you can look back and you can reflect. And then you can say, look, my next goal's here, but I need to work back and understand what I need to do to make sure I can achieve that goal. It's all about understanding what the numbers mean and calculating what those numbers mean and monitoring the correct numbers. It's all about monitoring the correct numbers. And you'll find that within any business. I'd say that every business has a financial meeting. If it wasn't important, if the numbers were important to monitor, they wouldn't do that. Every business nowadays have KPIs. Why do you think that is? So you can monitor it, so you can run a report on it, so you can reverse engineer your next project and understand what you did right and what you did wrong. And that's the key to reverse engineering. Reverse engineering is creating a plan for yourself, but then what you need to do is execute that plan. And while you're executing that plan, you also need to monitor. So although you're hearing, execute, yeah, that's great, but make sure you monitor as well. So it's a 3-step process. Get the journey, execute, monitor. I'm CJ People. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Stay tuned.